welcome to the Mancunian Candidates here on Fab Radio International and now on YouTube. It's our second YouTube show. My name's Paul Ripley and next to me is Mike Royce.
I'm here.
What have we got lined up for tonight?
Well, tonight we're going to look at COVID because everybody forgot about COVID because of the elections. And then after a quick look at all that, we're probably going to have another look at what is going on in America because there's been some sinister stuff over the last couple of days that have took it to descended to a deeper level, shall we say. And then I think I'm going to have a catch up with my mate, Jezza. Jezza Corbyn.
Jezza.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Corbyns on tonight's show. I just warn you. Corbyn alert.
I've had quite a bit of feedback from last week's show regarding our little piece on the COVID idiots who were wandering around Manchester.
COVIDiots,
yeah. I've had a lot of negative response as well.
Have you?
I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to continue on that same vein.
Well, not knowing what you're talking about?
You probably.
Good.
You don't look too happy. What's up?
I'm not happy with what's been going on recently, the last week. In fact, the last about 3 weeks before this lockdown. I mean, I can go deeper on this one. I'll tell you what. Let's watch a video on it, and then we'll have a discussion on what's annoying me.
Christmas means to me having fun with your family and spending time with them.
I like to see family and I would be sad if I didn't get to see them this Christmas. I love our Christmas lights.
The children of Peacefield Road, dubbed Liverpool's most festive street, and here they've gone early with the Christmas decks. Why? To cheer themselves up, knowing things won't be quite the same this year.
Usually it's either in one of their houses Christmas Day. Mine, my daughter-in-law's, my daughter's, whoever, and that's not going to happen this year because we're all staying in our own house.
It's the one day of the year you should spend it with your family, really, I think, so we'll see what happens.
When the UK went into its second lockdown, the Prime Minister said this.
Christmas is going to be different this year, perhaps very different, but it's my sincere hope and belief that by taking tough action now, we can allow families across the country to be together.
But it's still not clear how together will be. In Scotland today, Nicola Sturgeon put 11 councils into the highest tier restrictions with the hope to reduce infection levels in those areas in time to ease things for Christmas.
At these levels, we would not have the flexibility we need to ease restrictions over Christmas, which, in common with the other UK nations, we so desperately want to do.
So what then will the UK government do when lockdown is due to end on December the 2nd?
If we came out of lockdown, then I fear that the level of infectivity in the country would be just too high. And by the time we got to Christmas, we'd have to have another lockdown.
Scientists also warn that easing restrictions too much on Christmas Day will lead to a post-Christmas lockdown hangover. For the government and those involved in virus control, this is the nightmare before Christmas. What to do about a festive season that involves collective coming together, the mingling of generations across the UK, the thing we've been avoiding doing for so long, and perhaps the one day of the year when people won't be told who they can and can't have lunch with.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish...
Many shoppers here at Osterley Garden Centre in Middlesex say a Merry Christmas means with their family.
We don't want to be lawbreakers, but at the same time we don't want to be too sad. So I think it's going to be interesting.
I definitely want to see my family. I haven't seen my family for months.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see my family. But there again, if it keeps us safe by keeping us away, then that's what I'll do.
News of 2 vaccines has brought festive optimism and raised the prospect of light at the end of the tunnel. But sadly, a sociable Christmas could push that light further away. Jason Farrell, Sky News.
You see, the problem with this is quite simple. And I'm just talking to you guys out there. I mean, it covers America as well, but it more specifically covers here. We'll get into America in a little while, but I mean, this situation that we've got here, I heard when the second lockdown was announced by Boris Johnson, all these sensible reporters like Beth Rigby from Sky News and her ilk. These are seasoned professionals that have been doing this for decades, and their big concern was, can you be certain, Mr. Prime Minister, that we will be ready for Christmas, but that this lockdown will be okay for Christmas then? And I started to think, okay, what am I missing here? And then as it's gone on, the lockdown, now we're having discussions where there was a series of discussions yesterday where it was estimated that they're proposing that even if the lockdowns have to continue after the beginning of December, which they will, make no bones about it, because nothing has happened. A good friend of mine referred to it earlier as a mockdown. This is not a real lockdown. This is not going to be effective because it's so half-assed. There's so few people bothered. The shops are busy. No one's social distancing. People are out. So loads of businesses are suffering because they're closed, but they're not getting the benefit. Like last time, at least your businesses were closed. You lost a load of money, but you knew that the country was getting better, that the figures were being driven down. This way, this has been a complete waste of time. Not that I'm anti-lockdown, far from it, but you either do it or not. The clue is in the bloody name, yeah? Lockdown. Not lockdown except for Primark and co. Lots of others. Anyway, all I'm saying is this. There is a discussion going on and was going on yesterday. Like today we've been busy with Boris discussing in the House of Commons whether he wants to give laser weapons like Star Wars lasers to the military. That was today's waste of time in the House of Commons by these useless bellends. Now, the debate that's been going on over COVID has been, can we have a 4 or 5 day lockdown? They're debating this and discussing it in the Houses of Commons, and they've evaluated that if they give us 4 or 5 days lockdown, this can be offset by having a month of, they'll lift the lockdown for Christmas so we can all be together. That you then can placate everybody for those 4 or 5 days, give everybody Christmas, and then afterwards fix it with an extended month-long lockdown to try and drive the figures down.
You know what's going to happen here, Mike, don't you?
What?
We'll have this 5 days where it's be families only.
Yep.
Joint families. Nobody will do that.
No, they won't.
People are sick of it. Absolutely sick to death of it being half-arsed.
Yeah.
Track and trace not working.
Yeah.
And the whole, are we in tier 1, tier 2,
Yeah.
tier 3? Is it locked down, full lockdown? You go in the shop, we're in Manchester. I went out today, wandered around the city centre, and it's busy.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
No.
Got some facts here. Hotspots.
Yeah.
Worst place or hotspot to catch COVID virus, supermarkets.
Yeah.
Followed by petrol stations, then the banks, then the vets, then other shops.
Yeah.
And the most infected place in the whole of the UK at the moment is Hull, with 455.8 people per 100,000.
Well, I want to just private chat here. In fact, you know what? Come closer. It's just between us, right? I just want to let you in on a little secret that you should have figured out by now, okay? Christmas is fucked, okay? Christmas is fucked. Get your head round it. We've got a biblical pandemic. We've got one of the biggest threats to the safety of humanity that has hit us in a century. Christmas ain't going to happen, all right? It doesn't matter. You can have it next year when everybody's alive.
But Mike, you're missing the point totally, which I said to you before. People will ignore it. So in your words, Christmas is knackered and all that.
Yes, it is.
It will happen.
It is.
Because the demand from people who aren't affected by the
they'll make
virus,
it happen.
people in the southeast and other places. It's always like the northern thing that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
It will happen and everybody will go crazy.
Yeah.
They'll go crazy.
And people are dying for this. People are literally dying for Christmas. That's the thing. People will be dying for Christmas, literally dying for Christmas. And this is, when did we end up this stupid? I mean, what has COVID done? Has it lowered IQs? Is that what it's done? Because that's the biggest thing that I've seen, the drop in the common sense of the average person while this has been going on.
It's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Right, shall we move on a little bit? Last week I spoke about the people behind. Well, everybody knows the name David Icke, and they just do. But he and his acolytes, as I call them, are responsible, I think, for lots of misinformation going out around this country and around the world. Now, people have heard, because Trump, fake news. But this fake news and this wrong information, because of things like this channel, YouTube, not particularly this channel, hopefully we give the truth, but because of misinformation, fake news going around, people jump on it. So I've got a few people I want to talk to about. These are David Icke's acolytes. And the first one, you got it ready, Chris? Yep. It's, I never get a name right. Kate Shimira. Is that right, Mike?
Sherry Marnie.
Close enough. Now, she is a golden girl at the moment, and she calls herself a natural nurse in a toxic world and stresses her qualifications. Her nursing registration was suspended by Nursery and Midwifery Council after spreading nonsense about COVID. She has been suspended multiple times by Facebook for harmful misinformation, but she has 73,000 followers. She believes in satanic cults, false flags, and of course, David Icke. The Golden Girl. The next person I want to talk about is Dr. Andrew Kaufman. Dr. Andrew Kaufman. He is a medical expert, right? He must be, doctor. He's a COVID conspiracist and he's a natural healing consultant whose 15 minutes of fame has involved spreading the debunked nonsense that vaccines to combat the coronavirus pandemic will somehow alter people's genetic makeup. And guess what? He's a huge fan of David Icke. Now, the third person is Jeremy Corbyn's less successful brother, Piers Corbyn. He's a seasoned climate change denier and conspiracy theorist who keeps some pretty creepy conspiracy theorist company. The 73-year-old is infamous for appearing at events alongside his conspiracy theorists, including Holocaust denier Nicholas Colostrom. Piers Corbyn is also a member of Clexit, a pressure group celebrating Brexit and calling for the next step. Britain abandoning any agreements to reduce carbon pollution and tackle global warming, which they claim is a hoax. He believes that earthquakes are caused by the sun and 5G and anti-vaccination propaganda. He believes that 5G affected you. And now we have 53,775 people dead. And it makes me, it just really winds me up, and it really does make me angry.
Well,
that people pay attention to this. Next week, Dr. Vernon Coleman, who's more famous for about a book about the size of your penis, who's a medical expert now for this world of misinformation and lies. It's as simple as that, Michael. As simple as
well,
that.
It's at least you can be, amused by the fact that a week later he got 10,000 quid shoved up his jack because which is quite amusing. I think it's quite funny because of all that protestation there. He's even going, sequencing. What do you know? What's that sequencing? Yeah, he's an absolute idiot. He ended up being arrested by the police for organising one of these, and he ended up having to be bailed out.
Lives, it doesn't really matter.
I know, but at least he's getting something, a slap on the wrist. It's a recognition that what he's doing is wrong.
There should be an alternative voice. You should be able to look at things and say, right, let's question this. Like you would do in court, you've got to have two sides to a story. But this is nonsense, absolute nonsense. And it's growing and growing. It's moved into politics, and it's just absolute madness. Please get over it. Stop watching YouTube. But Dr. Vernon Coleman is on my hit list for next week. Penis size. And you're following him? Really?
I do want to point one thing out. Piers Corbyn and his brother Jeremy, extremely close.
Arrogant.
They are very of the same mind of when they've got an opinion, that opinion is more important than the cause that they are promoting. They will not listen to anybody else. They will talk over everybody else. Any other reasoned opinion they don't want to listen to. You either believe in what they believe in or you don't. And I've also got to say this. He is deeply anti-Semitic, Piers Corbyn. and he hangs around with people that are Holocaust deniers, as you've said. It's not even a debate, it is a fact. He's hung around with them, and you are supposed to then believe that Jeremy Corbyn doesn't hold those views. Well, I know he does, because I know him and I've spent time with him, and he does.
You don't know him.
I do know him.
I
spent a long time. I spent enough time to make. I spent
didn't go on
enough
holiday,
time, a long time. No, I didn't go on holiday. I didn't know he's in a
Did you share a
force.
long trip in the car?
I spent enough time to know that he was.
met
This is
him?
before.
You met him?
No, I've spent 2 weeks with him. Yeah.
What, every day?
I spent most days. Yeah, we're on a course. So there you go. So that shuts you up.
No,
it does really. No. And then the fact is that I knew at the end of that I did not want to speak to him or meet him again. He was somebody that I would avoid if he ever came in a room. And then next minute, I say 17 years later, he's up for Labour leadership, and I thought, my first initial thought was, you've got to be out of your fucking minds to be considering this guy.
Can I just say something, Mike? We have an email I want to talk about, but it's about swearing on this show.
Oh, really?
My dad got hold of me last week.
Oh.
Yeah, honestly, he did.
I know, yeah, I can believe
and
that. I know he
very
watches.
Unprofessional.
I'm not
a little bit like sorting videos out.
I'm in two minds on this. On one level, I am sorry that he was offended by that, because I've obviously respect him, but I am not here to be professional.
And which quite fittingly fits into this email I've had here, and it's from Jane. I can't pronounce the surname, but Jane says...
is it foreign? Is that why you can't pronounce it?
Jane says, I've watched the show last week, really enjoyed it, looking forward to tonight, but who are you two? So, I thought, over to you, Mike. Who are you?
Hey, if you have got educated in law, was left law to run part-time a bar, Fab Cafe in Manchester. It took off and then became a leisure company. And then next minute later on, we were advertising a magazine that was going under. Then we took over Starburst magazine. I've been running that. And then I was doing a radio show for that. And all along the way, I've been a political activist for the Labour Party. And I've been helping out at elections and doing stuff and writing stuff for them. And literally somebody said, why not do a politics show on the radio, while we were also doing one for Starburst magazine, Starburst Radio, and me and you started doing the show 8 years ago, thinking, well, it might work, it might not, and it's a massively downloaded podcast that loads of people write into every week.
Yeah, it's done very well, and thank you to every single person who's listened to the show in the past. We do appreciate it. We're an independent company and we need your help, really. We want you to go on, obviously you're on YouTube now watching, and press that button and ring that bell.
You've got to ring the bell, but that button, it's very satisfying when you press it. You won't believe how much satisfaction you'll get.
Who am I? I'm a person who lived through the Thatcher era, who suffered at the hands of Thatcher. Who at one stage had bailiffs knocking on my door because of Thatcher. I'm a person who's sick to death of watching politicians on TV who won't answer. You ask them a question and they go all the way around it. I'm sick to death of the corruption. And the idea of this show really was, I've been in radio for a long time, in music for a long time, the idea of this show was just to have normal people talking about politics, because it affects us all. And really, for you to get a point of view across as well. So you want to email in at any time, we will read your emails out. Come on board on the show. It's Mancunian Candidates at fabradiointernational.com. Get in touch with us. That's who I am. I'm just a bloke. Should we move on?
Indeed. We've established we're both blokes.
Yeah.
There you go. So, in America...
No need for that, is it?
What? I was just saying,
the show you're being sarcastic.
I'm not being sarcastic. I was just saying, I was a bit cheeky little thumbs up to the people out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you may or may not have watched our 8-hour election special. If you did, my apologies. It was a long night. I hope you weren't as knackered as we were by the end of it. I also hope you weren't as confused as we were going into the end of the night, because even allowing for Joe Biden to have a massive amount of postal votes in advance of Donald Trump, like 60% of them, the lion's share of them, we didn't think he'd have 80 or 90% and end up winning like that. It looked a lot worse when we finished the show. So since then, what's happened? Well, if you'd have paid attention a few years ago, you will have seen in 2016 that when he had the grab him by the pussy tape released, he was pretty low in the polls before Comey started to investigate Hillary Clinton. So he thought he was going to lose. It was inevitable. So he spread the rumour of, well, if I don't win, it's because it's all fixed, it's all rigged, it's all that. So we've already seen this. And then obviously when he won, it wasn't. It was the most fair election that he's ever run. And he's pulled the same thing. And as you know, it's dragging on now. Maybe we can have a look at a clip and then discuss what's happened over the last few days.
Overnight in Michigan, there seems to be this back and forth over certifying election results in a major county there. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, Craig, it was a dramatic night in Michigan. Here's what happened. 2 Republican county officials in Michigan's largest county, which includes Detroit, refused to certify the election results in that county. 2 Republican county officials, and that prompted a backlash from voters who accused those officials of essentially trying to disenfranchise them. So the Republican officials reversed course by the end of the night, just a short time after their initial move. So those results are going to be certified. They are going to move forward. But President Trump was watching all of this. He was tweeting. He called the stalemate a, quote, beautiful thing. Michigan's Secretary of State, a Democrat, though, said there were no irregularities and no evidence of widespread fraud. So essentially debunking the initial reason that those Republican county officials were blocking the results in the first place. Bottom line here, Craig, even if that stalemate had continued in that county, it's very unlikely it would have reversed the results of Michigan, a state that President-elect Biden won by more than 148,000 votes.
We move to Georgia now, where there are far more questions than answers regarding that phone call between Lindsey Graham and Georgia's Republican Secretary of State. It turns out there was a witness to the call. A top election official to Secretary Brad Raffensperger was also on the call and agreed it sounded like the South Carolina senator was suggesting throwing out absentee ballots.
What I heard was basically discussions about absentee ballots, and if there was a percentage of signatures that weren't really truly matching, is there some point where you could get to where you could say, if somebody went to a courtroom, could say, we'll throw out all these ballots because we have no way of knowing because the ballots are separated. And that was partially what was going on. I could see how Senator Graham viewed it one way and Secretary Raffensperger viewed it one way. But, you know, our job in this state is to follow the law and follow the process. And that's what we continue to do.
When Graham was asked about the call yesterday, he said it was ridiculous. He asked Georgia officials to throw out ballots. He then said he talked to secretaries of states in Arizona and Nevada about their elections as well. Only that never happened. Both came out and said they never spoke with the senator. Eventually,
so Lindsey,
good Lord, this is bad.
So Lindsey was actually lying to try to cover his tracks after he had been accused by a Republican Secretary of State of trying to get him to throw out legal ballots.
Eventually, Graham revealed he'd actually talked to Arizona's governor and hadn't actually spoken to anyone in Nevada. Wow, this is even bad for
lying all around.
Let's bring in national political reporter for NBC News, Josh Letterman, who's been covering this story. Josh, what can you add?
Well, there could not be a worse time, Mika, for Republicans in Georgia to be going to war with themselves, with the path to control of the Senate running right through Georgia over the next 2 months. But that's exactly what seems to be happening here. I spent the last several days in Georgia where the Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, said that he's been pushed up against a wall by his fellow Republicans making these baseless claims about systemic fraud and problems in the Georgia election that just don't exist. It's come from President Trump. It's come from both of the Republican senators, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, and it's come from Doug Collins, the congressman who's been leading the president's recount effort there. Then came word of this phone call from Lindsey Graham, who, reminder, is not a senator from Georgia. He's from a different state. Unclear why he was even calling the Secretary of State there. But the Secretary of State, a Republican who told me he voted straight down and up the ballot for Republicans this year and every year, saying he did feel pressure from Lindsey Graham to try to find as many ways as possible, basically, to get rid of legally cast ballots.
So there you have it. Donald Trump has made good. Like I say, he could be one of the most honest politicians that you've ever had in office. The guy said he was going to do a load of really bad things if he got made president. He would stop immigration. He'd do lots and lots of really awful things. And yeah, you've had kids in cages. You've had everything. He said he was going to contest the election if he lost because he would think that it was rigged, or he'd certainly be lying to the point where everyone would believe it was rigged. And yes, he's gone for it. He's really gone for it. Unfortunately, as credibility as eroded, he's ended up with no lawyers now. He's literally got Rudy Giuliani. Not one person is representing him now from a law firm. Rudy Giuliani. Now, I've got to say the worst aspect to this has got to be that you've got the two. Don't get me wrong, in Michigan, he managed to get two Republicans who, again, I think we're getting to the point where we're aware Republicans in America are only bothered about power. They're not bothered about decency. They're not bothered about doing the right thing or helping people. So they went along with it until they got a backlash, and then they reversed that and in Michigan certified the vote. Lindsey Graham is denying that he got involved, but he was trying to get rid of an area's votes that were 80% black.
No more needs to be said.
It's just down to that. I mean, you think, well, in America, you're moving on, and this is a separate issue to race or civil rights, whatever. But it isn't, because, again, votes have always been from Jim Crow to now. There's always been white people trying to stop black people from voting and exercising their rights because they know damn well that it might end up with black and white people being equal.
Here's a strange question for you, Mike.
Go on.
Why is it? I mean, we portray in general that the right wing are bad, are baddies of the world. They're the baddies.
I try not to, but
and the ultra left wing,
yeah,
like the ultra right wing, they're the baddies. You know, communist parties, blah blah blah, China. You know, why is it that way? Why is it? Why is it certain right wings across the world think certain ways? Why are most right wing organisations racist? Why?
I'll be honest. It's because the policies that are needed to succeed in the right wing are always the type of policies that don't need people with very low incomes, and that is unfortunately because of society being structured the way it is in America, and certainly here even. If you are an ethnic minority or black or in any way not white, you know, if you're not just the norm, what used to be the norm or the highest percentile of the population, that that is a problem if they get power, because they can bring you down. Poor people can bring rich people down, and most usually right-wing policies which believe in small government, low taxation, and more independence are rich people, because in that environment rich people can thrive and poor people drown, and that's always the way it's been.
So it's a little bit like monarchy used to be in the United Kingdom.
Correct. The old school.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we started it off in many ways.
I don't deny that. I think that we started an awful lot of this off, and I'll say something though. America hasn't half taken the ball and run with it. I mean, this situation you've got over there right now is ludicrous. It's never happened before. You've never had an election other than the Al Gore one that everybody's shouting about. The right wing are saying, well, you were going to court over Al Gore. My God, That was a handful of votes. There were hundreds and hundreds of votes. That's it, not thousands, not tens of thousands, separating Al Gore from George Bush. And it was one state in play, one state, Florida, and there was tiny margin. And you had to make sure, and it was rumoured they were uncounted ballots, a rumour. So let's do that. That's one state. He has lost by at least clearly 4 states, if not more than that. The swing states that went against him, he's massively ahead. No recount can put that right.
I'm bored with it. I'm absolutely bored with it.
Everyone is.
I'm bored of it. I'm bored of Trump going on about it's fixed, it's blah, 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 it's this. I'm just bored.
Yeah, but they believe in it. When you get bored, you see, you don't fight it. And they're still going to shout, you're bored, you be quiet, because you're fed up of arguing with it, because you know it's nonsense. But when you stop defending it and going, oh, it's not, there's nothing to this rumour, it's all nonsense, they've won, because they will carry on, and they will carry on with this forever. You will be going into the next election in 2024 with Republicans referring to, well, we all know what happened last time.
The glory days.
They'll refer to the 2020 election as the one that Biden stole.
Well,
you know they will. You know they will.
Brexit talks have been suspended today. Did you know that?
Oh, yes.
A member of Barnier's team got COVID.
Yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
exist though. It's a hoax.
No, doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
This is the thing I find offensive. Like they, just quickly going back to that Kate Sherryman, Sherrymani. Sorry, for God, I've got it wrong now. The David Icke, Sherrymani. Okay. The David Icke. That's with an S, yes, but you could pronounce it like Sherry-Marnie.
Blonde bombshell.
Yeah, blonde bombshell. I've heard her described in a newspaper that I was reading the other day as glossy. The glossy 57-year-old. What's glossy? What does that mean? What is glossy? Have any answers on a postcard?
I like it though, glossy.
Glossy. I mean, what?
I like to go glossy.
Because she's 57 and still dresses like a bit of a tart.
Apple.
Just wondered. Anyway, the thing is, it's with David Icke. You bought me a book for Christmas.
Signed by David.
And it was signed by David Icke.
Yes.
And I went, oh, he's a bastard, and he's getting me this book. Well, what's this? He's taking the piss, because he knew I was sceptical. Started reading it, and I've got engrossed. An hour or two in, I'm still reading. And here's how it gets you. You start reading it, and it's about, the third world countries, and they control the banking system and food, and how it, and you start going, oh, this is good. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, that. And then lizards. And then you go, all right, I'll put it down. Then you go and go, let's have a read about the political system.
Quote lizards in that.
Yeah, and then you go, political system. We could set up this different political system, and you go, that would work. And proportional representation with a board of governors here and all that, and it's all. And then you go, that's good. And then lizards, and that's the problem with all of this.
No, lizards always comes up. It's purple as well. I've got 15 minutes left of the show. Like I said before, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. It helps us. I'm really pleased how it's going at the moment. But we do want your emails as well. So get in touch with us anytime whatsoever during the week. Mancunian Candidates at fabradiointernational.com.
Indeed.
Mike, what's next?
Well, we've had a Corbyn. It's a tale of two Corbyns, I'm afraid. Yeah. We were dealing with this just the other week. We were talking on the election show about Mr. Corbyn, because unless you've been somewhere vacationing on another planet, you'll know that Jeremy Corbyn, our favourite anti-Semite, has been got in a spot of bother because the report came in that said that Labour had indeed been covering up anti-Semitism, especially with regards to Red Ken, Ked Livingstone. And unfortunately, all he had to do was say, I'm very disappointed with this report. Under my leadership, it could have been better, and I'll take this on board. And that's it, and then skulk off and maybe make another comment a month later. Instead, he went, it's all overblown for political purposes. Wrong answer. So he got kicked out of Labour, he got suspended, and obviously he got the whip withdrawn as an MP. So, unfortunately, some people misunderstood when Corbyn kind of gave an apology, but not. He didn't say that he was responsible, for his role in it or anything. He just said, absolutely, I accept the report. He didn't say, I'm sorry, I messed up, I could have done better. That's all people wanted to hear, just a bit of contrition. But being the arrogant asshole that he is, just like his weird conspiracy theory brother, he didn't. So today it came out that he's not got the whip, so he's back in the Labour Party. He's a member, just like me, like everybody else, but he's not got the whip. So I'm afraid Islington is still without an MP. If he needs to run at the next election, as things stand, they will select somebody else to run for his seat for Labour, and he will have to run as an independent. He is currently an independent MP. What people are saying about he's no longer an MP is not true. He can go and sit in the House of Commons, but he's an independent, which is not what everybody's saying in the media, because they want to make it all so dramatic. No, he's just not Labour. But at the end of the day, I'm sure something will get sorted out. But he needs to say he's sorry and that he could have done better. He really does. And we're at that impasse now. So we've got a video that looks into a bit of this.
I think it's fair to say that last night for Keir Starmer was a bit of a living nightmare. A man who ran for the leadership of the Labour Party promising a war on anti-Semitism found that the very people he'd been trying to reassure were in uprising. There were threats to resign the Labour whip from several Labour MPs, I think, including Labour's only woman Jewish MP, Margaret Hodge. Some Labour peers, it was talked of, might be resigning the whip in the House of Lords as well. And there was talk that the Jewish Labour movement, an affiliate of the Labour Party for 100 years, might just disaffiliate. So all this horror was happening. And I think on the left, there are strong rumours that they think actually Keir Starmer had been part of peacemaking efforts with Jeremy Corbyn, or was at least encouraging them from the sidelines, and basically drew back from all that when he didn't like the look of that reaction. On the left, they're now talking about a witch hunt, and on the right, euphoric 3 weeks ago when they heard of the suspension of Jeremy Corbyn. They tonight they're glad what Keir Starmer's done, but they're scratching their head and just wondering whether he's actually started a civil war here, or almost by accident, and may even have picked a side.
This afternoon, the NEC panel reinstated me as a member of the Labour Party. So once again, Islington North has a Labour MP.
Or not. His successor has decided Jeremy Corbyn cannot yet rejoin the ranks of Labour MPs.
I put a statement out last night, so I hope you've seen that. Thank you.
Will you be restoring the whip?
I put a statement out last night, thank you.
But in a news statement a few hours later, Sir Keir Starmer said it had become clear overnight that the Labour Party process that brought Jeremy Corbyn back into the party didn't command the respect of the Jewish community.
Nice to see you all this morning.
Some Jeremy Corbyn allies said they thought his successor had been scared off a peacemaking gesture by some voices on the right of the party.
Thank you very much for coming.
See, the right of the party, it's funny, isn't it? Because the right of the party, it's not even about centre, left, right, this. It's about the fact that you don't want a political party that you are involved in, that you've given your life to, being synonymous with hating a race, a type of person, a creed, a religion, or anything like that. Do you?
No, you don't.
You know?
No, you certainly don't. But I know people. I know a guy who was nearly a councillor in Wales. Nearly. He tried his best, failed.
Shit.
Big momentum.
Nearly.
He's tried.
In Wales.
Big momentum fan.
Okay.
So therefore,
I get it
as soon
now.
as Starmer came into the party as a leader, he was straight away. He was a Blairite type.
It's not pure enough.
Question, Mike.
Yeah.
Did you share rubbers?
What are you talking about?
Was your mate Corbyn?
Oh, we weren't doing now like that. We were at seminars.
I was talking about rubbers.
Rubbers?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's alluding to condoms.
No,
but
no,
you really
no,
mean
I was
erasers.
not. No,
you know, you mean
your,
erasers.
That's your world.
No, I thought that's your cheeky
weird
joke there,
sexual,
isn't it? Yeah.
No.
We didn't share erasers to Rob, because unlike normal people, we don't write in pencils because we're not 6.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I tend to disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
And when's the last time you used one?
A pencil?
No, both. Pencil or a rubber?
Pencil all the times.
Really?
I'm not 6.
And what do you do? So you've got a pen, but you go, oh no, I need a pencil for this, because you're not drawing a picture, are you? You just write it. Yeah, it's a bit weird though, isn't it? If I see someone whip out a pencil and they start writing, I think, oh, weirdo.
So what did he use, a pen or a pencil?
He had a pen. I know what he had. He had one of those...
what colour?
No, wait a minute. What's that? Gel pen that was green.
He didn't use a green pen.
No, it's not a pen. It's not a pen, it's gel. It's gel. And it was green and it had the little ribbed effect on it. You must remember them. You don't see them anymore, do you?
No, I don't remember.
Answers on a postcard. I need to know what they are. The green pen with gel in it.
Yeah.
Green. We've gone really off topic, haven't we?
I was thinking, in my head, I'm thinking YouTube on there, the desk, and of course.
Well, no, we weren't. Me and Paul, me and Paul, and the other people who were there. He would not be at the desk because he would mention something, we wouldn't agree with it, and he would go to the other side of the room and sit and glower at us for an hour, then come back. And then we'd have another conversation, and like someone would say he was there. Or he was like that all the way through it. He didn't. You could not say anything other than yes, you're right, Jeremy. Otherwise, he'd have a strop, and that's how he's governed. The guy's a dick.
Talking of dicks, Cummings.
He said he'd be out by the end of the year. He only lasted until the end of the day. The Prime Minister's top aide, Dominic Cummings, has packed up his things and gone. It came after days of chaos sparked by the resignation of his right-hand man, Lee Cain. Now the government has lost two of its most powerful figures in as many days. So are things falling apart in Downing Street? Ministers were playing it down today.
He wrote in January that he was looking to leave at the end of the year, which is when Brexit and also the transition period will be over. And he had one or two other things that he wanted to get achieved. I'm not surprised that he feels that quite a lot of his work is done, but his ideas and energy, I'm sure, will be missed.
Before he entered Number 10, he was known as the man who won the Brexit referendum as head of the campaign group Vote Leave.
What are we doing?
Taking back control! But more recently, the Prime Minister's top advisor became the top story when it was alleged that he broke the very lockdown rules he helped to create.
We drove for roughly half an hour and ended up on the outskirts of Barnard Castle town,
making him the subject of headlines and punchlines.
Is this the way to Barnard Castle? You see, my vision's a bit of a hassle.
Is it one rule for you, Mr. Cummings, and another rule for everybody else? A self-styled anti-establishment figure, he's often been at odds with the media, the civil service, and even the Tory party. It was always going to be tricky to have someone with little love for the Conservative Party installed here at the heart of a Conservative government. But whilst Dominic Cummings was the man who could win elections with his magic slogans, take back control, get Brexit done, he was tolerated by the Tory establishment. But after a major public backlash over his lockdown trip to Barnard Castle and a wider wave of criticism over the government's handling of the pandemic, that tolerance has now come to an end.
I think he has been a liability, and it's not, so far as I'm concerned, before time. But look, the real thing that matters is that we have a national situation, the most dangerous since the Second World War, the pandemic. And we also have the need to conclude our negotiations with the European Union. And frankly, the sooner that Mr. Cummings is out of the way and we get some heavyweights in to do a man's job, the better.
But love him or loathe him, most agree that he has shaped Boris Johnson's first year of government in his own image. So what can we expect now from the Prime Minister?
The reason why somebody like Dominic Cummings has had so much sway within the government is because Boris Johnson doesn't really know what he wants to do. Ultimately, the stuff that was said and written about me was a lot of it nonsense because my boss, Tony Blair, knew what he was doing. A lot of the stuff said about Cummings is not nonsense, is because he has filled a gap, if you like, or filled a vacuum that's created by Johnson. So in the end, this is an opportunity for him to show whether he's actually capable of doing the job.
One immediate challenge could be a wave of resignations as Vote Leave loyalists follow their leader out of Number 10.
I think a lot of people will be considering their position at the moment. There's a lot of personal loyalty to Dominic Cummings, but there's also perhaps an opportunity to change the culture of Downing Street, which so many people, so many MPs in my party feel isn't working.
Tonight, Downing Street has said that Dominic Cummings will continue to work until mid-December. But if these images tell us anything, it's that his influence is already over.
You see, we went into this last week on last week's show, where if you haven't seen it, well, I'll do that thing with the finger again so you can catch up with it. But I'll do a brief recap. It is there. You can't see it until we're on YouTube with a recorded version. The thing is, Dominic Cummings was no problem. He was safe in that job. He'd shrugged off the trip to the castle. Everything was good. But he never got on with Carrie Symonds, the fiancée and now mother of Boris's Sprog. And they've never got on. And he had a mate called Lee Kane. And basically, things came unstuck for Kane and unable because he was offered Lee Kane was offered the chief of staff job. And he said, yes, I'll take that, no problem. And Carrie Symonds went, no. That guy is here. I've put up with him. I'm not having his best mate running all of this. There'll be literally no escape from him. And he's a terrible influence on you. She packed her bags and she fucked off. And then all of a sudden there's this, the following day, Lee Kane not only didn't take the job, he resigned from Number 10 and left. And then it was said, oh, Dominic Cummings is about to go as well, and we announced it. Paul announced it live on last week's show. It had just broke, before anyone. And what happened then was he was supposed to be leaving at Christmas, and then all of a sudden, I'll tell you what happened. She came back and moved back in the flat at Number 10, Carrie Symonds, and then during the afternoon, there were a number of text messages, and one of Carrie Symonds' mates, who also works in Number 10, came to and went, have you seen this text message that Dominic Cummings has been sending to people about you, in which you're referred to in not a very polite way? Now, I do not know the actual wording, but I do know that it was very nasty and caustic. And she went to Boris, and Boris sacked him. And that's why he left immediately. And you saw him then leave with his box of goodies. And I'll just point this out. There is a back entrance to Number 10. If you want to leave Number 10, you can leave Number 10.
Actually, 4 exits.
Yeah, but there's the one that everyone leaves from. It's the one near where the mortar attack happened with John Major as Prime Minister. And that's the one they all go to. And you can have your car at the end of the path waiting and you're off. Yeah, well, he didn't leave that way, did he? He left through the front door with his box like, hello, these are my things, I'm leaving. So who knows that bit? I think he did that just as a bit of a pressure thing so that it brought on board to everybody that Boris was alone now. So if you've got any problems, you can descend on him. And yeah, he is alone and he is not capable of doing that job. And he's just lost the only person who can win him an election and come up with any actual ideas. It's going to be interesting to see who you're going to now see who he is now.
But the Conservatives will get their party back.
They'll get the party back,
but dominated by Cummings, and the civil service hated him, and he wanted rid of the civil service.
But they wouldn't have won that election without Cummings. No. They wouldn't have won that election, and they wouldn't have certainly got his cabal. Remember, there's a massive swathe of the Conservative Party that are still very pissed off at leaving Europe, which is crashing and burning around as the deal. And they are now going to be seeing this as a positive thing. But a lot of people who will vote leave are going to be annoyed with Boris for getting rid of who they perceive won them the leave vote and got us out of the EU. So I think that the Conservative Party is going to be more fractured than ever. I think you're back to the old days where you've got a load of pissed off people that are going to be seeing the Tory party going in a way they don't. And I'll tell you something, if Labour can box clever and just get this goddamn argument under control, then finally we might see Labour with a sustained lead in the polls. They were 5% ahead He was something like 8% ahead in Prime Minister, preferred Prime Minister. This was only a week or so ago.
For Labour to become a power again, what do you think they have to do? Do they have to get rid of Corbyn completely
Yes.
and his cronies?
Yes.
And what about the trade unions who support the Labour Party and fund it?
I think you should get rid of Unite and Len McCluskey. He's a poisonous, toxic influence. I think that if you can replace that by private funding and donations from individuals, you'll be in a much better position, because he has been ruling the roost there for too long. He was responsible for not going with David Miliband and going with Ed, who anyone who's ever seen him on TV for 5 minutes would know that he is not the person who should have been leading that party. So that was when the rot began, when Len McCluskey scuppered that election for leader, got rid of David Miliband for his brother.
So
he got the weaker, more pliable brother.
Go to?
Where will they go to? Where were they? Where were they when the Blair government was in? They were protesting everything the Blair government did.
That's like a thing they hate, politicians. Where will they go to?
Well, wherever they want to go to. You're either part
will
of.
they go to? Simple question.
They'll start. They will. They're there now. They're already there. They're in momentum. No, they're in momentum. They've got a party.
It's not a political party.
It is.
It's not.
Oh, it is.
It's a support group.
Yeah, it is. No, it's not. You must be mad.
So
Are you
you're
crazy?
saying that
You're telling me that's a support group. That has
you're
invaded
saying,
that
just be
party.
clear about what you're saying.
Yeah.
They will start their own party.
Yeah.
Another left-wing party.
No, momentum.
And Labour will go more
Momentum.
to the right.
Momentum will put candidates in to run against Labour, guaranteed. You
Under
saw
what
it
banner?
here.
Under what banner?
Momentum.
So I was saying to you, clearly,
Because they've lost Labour. They stole the Labour. They stole the Labour IP.
Will Momentum start their own political party?
They are one. They're already there.
not one.
They are one. Yeah. If you think that, you're naive. And this naivety is why Labour and the left are in opposition, and this prick is running our country into the ground because you're just not realistic about the situation. Momentum is a political party, a hard left political party that took over the Labour Party.
Momentum here, will it come up as a political party?
No, it won't.
There you go.
Yeah, no.
So what are they?
Well, you're a fool then, because you fell for it. You're an idiot that fell for it then, aren't you? You fell for the ruse. You fell for it.
To gather votes in any election, you've got to be a part of a political party.
Yeah, no, and they'll become one. Yeah, unless of course, unless they'll register as one.
There you go.
They're already one. They're already one. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Everything you've said's wrong.
No, it's
because you're so wrong. It's painful, and that's the reason why we are in opposition now. Because people have that view. You underestimated Momentum and you let them take over the political party. You let them take over Labour. That's it. That's what happened.
You just do me head.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Is that it? It's over?
No, I'm doing well. I don't know. Is it time?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you sure?
No, we've got a few more minutes left. So let's say this one more time as well. Please subscribe to our channel. Somewhere up there, apparently. No, it's not. It's down there. I don't know. It's somewhere. Subscribe on the YouTube bit and press the bell because you get a buzzer that tells you that you got. What happens? I don't know.
The red button is
I never use
down
it.
here.
Subscribe.
It's down there.
I don't press the bell thing.
Yeah, there's nothing mystical about that bell. All it does is it sends a message, like a little message notification comes up, and it says, "Oh, a new video has appeared from someone that you subscribe to." It's not like Satanism,
Not like our friend who's
the Sherryman,
Sherrymani, yeah. To repeat, Dr. Vern Coleman, I'll be talking about next week. A bit of research done on him already, and people who know him very well. I've had a few inside tips and gossip.
Why don't you try and get him on?
Because he wouldn't come on.
Lie and say that we're a different kind of show, and then we'll just get him on, and then we'll rip into it.
He's really good at what he does. Don't get wrong. Don't forget David Icke and people like David Icke and people of that ilk.
David Icke's very intelligent. He's very
clever. Throw a bit of information in, throw a bit of misinformation underneath it, and build up this world of intrigue.
The problem is There shouldn't be crowds like that in Trafalgar Square. When they first did it, it was a handful of people, and I laughed, and then I laughed again the next one. I wasn't laughing by the third or fourth time they did it, because they had Trafalgar Square full of people, and those scenes that we were showing on last week's show were horrific in Manchester. They were horrific. There was I don't know how many, 3,000 people in the centre.
There wasn't that many. Apparently.
It looked huge on the video, and I wasn't there.
It was only 600.
It's still, that's 600 too many.
Apparently football will be back before Christmas. But a final word on this is Christmas. Your Christmas dinner table. What will it look like, Mike?
My Christmas Day, I'll just be doing stuff with whoever is in my house at the time that I'm allowed to be in there. I'll have a nice day. I will read some stuff. I will watch a few films, and I'll be all right.
Who's on your table?
What, on my table? A turkey, probably. Why? What is this?
Around, friends, family?
No. No, because we've got a pandemic. Why would I? And if you do, you're a dick. If you do actually think that you need Christmas this badly, that you would put people's lives in danger, you're a fucking arsehole.
My dad's going on about you, he's right. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching. I'm impressed. You've passed the IQ test and got this far, so let's press that button. Let's do the last thing that helps us. It's got subscribe on it, you can't miss it, and please ring the bell for notifications of future videos.